Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 872, PSG Back to Back. Hello, Big Chillians, and welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank, joined as always with Eddie. Today, we'll obviously cover some Champions League final action, as well as some big NFL trades. But I think we should start with the real headline. We're wearing the same T-shirt.
Oh, shit. That's depressing. How sad.
For our listeners, I hid my T-shirt from Eddie as soon as I saw he was wearing the same exact one, just to reveal it on podcast.
Oh, yeah. I gotta get back to the San Diego surf shop. I got a lot of points to cash in at some point. So.
Oh, that's right. Is it you or me? I thought they all kept going to me.
No, they're to me because remember they used my French phone number, which confused them.
Oh, yeah.
Like every time I had to give them the full phone number with the 16 digits with the country code. And then on top of it, they promised that those are lifetime points. That either I have to die or the shop has to close. So we'll see which one of those happens first.
Yeah.
We can't recommend it enough if you're ever in... That was in Carlsbad?
San Diego. That wasn't actually in San Diego, but I'm assuming they probably have one in San Diego as well.
I'm not sure. But yeah, that was in Carlsbad, or Oceanside? It was Carlsbad?
I think it was Carlsbad.
But yeah, if you're ever there, nice... surf
right
clothing
across from
shop.
It's right across from the Carlsbad surf shop.
Yes,
where they had the Mario, Mario Brothers
Carlsbad
t-shirt.
Surf Shop, little cheaper, little more grassroots, shall we say?
Yeah,
probably if you're a real surfer, maybe slightly more appealing. The
I love this analysis.
The San Diego
this is what
surf
everyone
shop?
Came to listen to.
I got a question for you though. So I'm traveling at the moment. I'm in Nice. I'm at a conference.
I just came back from traveling.
Yeah, I'm at a conference in Cannes, but staying in Nice. I was out to. Yeah, it's okay. It's pretty boring.
You're supposed to reply, no, it's Nice.
Yeah, well, I'm the only person from my company here. My company has no stand, no booth at the conference, is not significant enough to warrant any particular attention from anybody. So to be honest with you, it's just me wandering around places alone most of the time and occasionally having conversations. I went to dinner by myself tonight, which I don't mind. I like a solo dinner. But
did you sit at a table or sit at the bar?
I sat at the table, which is just the only place they could sit me. But there was a bar space, and at the bar, while I was sitting, and it was not a big restaurant, so the bar space was actually, I don't know, a couple feet in front of me, and I had a wall behind me. And while I was sitting there eating, there were 4 Americans, probably in their mid-50s, 2 couples, who were eating. And
swingers?
At one moment... I don't know their personal lifestyles, but at one moment... It was interesting because the 2 wives, they obviously were old friends. The 2 wives were speaking with each other and the 2 husbands were speaking with each other. So if you imagine in a bar, it was a bar space. It probably had 6 seats. So they're taking up all the bar space, but then they're also kind of divided into 2 groups. And to the point that I didn't actually realize at first that they were one single group. But anyway, at one moment in time, I just kind of was kind of eating and looking around, and the waiter brought something back to the woman and said, "I found this on your plate when we took your plate away," and it was something rolled up in a napkin. And so she she got the napkin out. She was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I can't believe I left that on the plate. I thought it was trash. I was throwing it out." So I was like trying in my head to figure out what on earth could this be. Like, maybe it was something she just bought that was wrapped up in some sort of tissue paper that, but it just kind of didn't make sense. And then 90 seconds went by and she called the waiter back over kind of frantically. And she said, actually, there were 2 of them. And he said, okay, I'll go back and ask. So then he kind of goes back, I guess, into the kitchen and comes back out and says, we can't find the other one. And she was like, do you want me to come and look with you? I'll dig through the trash to try and find it. I have no problem digging through the trash. They were quite well dressed.
Yeah.
Turns out, because then
Earrings?
at that moment, no, it was her Invisalign.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah. So how
Literally
it happened,
invisible.
yeah, it makes sense to me that she'd taken it out to eat and then wrapped it up in a piece of like paper napkin, and then that explains how it had ended up being thrown away. It did raise the interesting question to me. I know that you're supposed to wear your Invisalign sort of all the time, but isn't there a night like when you're going out with people that you just leave the Invisalign back in the hotel room? And also the interesting thing is, and I also know the entire Invisalign process reasonably expensive, but how desperate are you to find 50% of your missing Invisalign where you would offer to dig through the trash of a restaurant?
I mean, maybe it was her only pair and she was going to be gone for a while. I don't know.
Yeah, but the idea of it, right, is that it gradually you kind of go through different stages, right? So even if you only have that one, you only have that version of it for a few weeks, and then you shift to it gets tighter and tighter and tighter, right? Like that's the concept of the Invisalign. So okay, I suppose it fucks up. I say this to someone. I mean, I had braces when I was a teenager, and then I had a retainer, which was basically kind of like an Invisalign. It was this sort of like a mouth guard-ish retainer. I mean, basically what an Invisalign is. And I never wore that thing. So like it's hard for me to imagine. She looked like she had perfectly good teeth. I will say that. It didn't.
She's probably just at the finish line. She didn't want to fuck it up. This was 6 years into making, and they told her if you don't wear it for 2 days in a row, you're done.
Her teeth looked good enough that I definitely wouldn't be going out to a restaurant and having to deal with taking a retainer out. And that if I lost it, like it would have been to the point, had that been me and the waiter had brought it back, I would have said, oh no, that's not mine. I don't know where that came from. that is, I'll pay the extra $5,000 to get a new one of these made. That was 100% not mine, because this is just remarkably embarrassing.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. That is funny, though. Well, I also have a traveling story, not as glamorous as Invisaligns in the garbage, but mine is actually much grosser, I think, maybe. But airport etiquette is wild to me. We talk about this often, right? How just like people act in airports that I would never act alone. They somehow find it like more acceptable to act disgusting in an airport. Going to the bathroom, the amount of people who still like spit in urinals as they're going to the bathroom. What's your feeling on that? I think it's so gross. Just because it's like some sort of depository for something doesn't mean you can just go in and start like hacking up lungs in a bathroom next to someone.
I've never understood spitting really in general. Like I mean, look, in rare instances, I would never do it in a public bathroom, but the only time I ever find any compulsion to spit now is, yes, maybe if you're super congested when you're sick and you kind of have like phlegm in your throat, sometimes there's a need to get it out. Very disgusting for the podcast topic. But like, I would not do that in a public bathroom, but because if I'm at that stage, I'm not leaving my house. But I've never really understood spitting. I didn't understand spitting when I played sports. Like, I never have found that I've been working so hard that I've had a buildup of saliva in my mouth that has been somehow holding back my ability to breathe. I've never understood that. Same with I don't get athletes like clearing their nose.
Sitting at airports, does that bring it up maybe?
Yeah, but like athletes like clearing their nose while they play, I've never really understood that either. That's never been something. Maybe I wasn't working hard enough. I don't know. It never seems to bother me that much that that I've needed to do that. But yeah, no, I don't get it. We've normalized that. We've like, and it's just super, super gross. Like, and I understand it's the less gross of the two things, I mean, kind of technically that you're doing. Yeah, out of the two activities, standing at the urinal. Although I say that, I think I'd probably rather someone piss on me than spit on me. Like if push comes to shove,
What would
like
happen in the NFL if someone got pissed on? Is the suspension more for piss or spit?
I don't know, but I mean, genuinely, and this is there's no like fetish talk here, but I think if you just told me that tomorrow either a random stranger had to just really spit on my face or piss on my face, I'm probably taking the piss and feeling much happier about myself.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I don't know. It's so weird. My one other gripe, and this is a gripe I think maybe we've discussed before. Um, and I don't think it's me just getting old because I've always kind of felt this way, even when I was younger, going to bars. Having music being too loud at a bar drives me insane. And this instance, I went to a wedding over the weekend, and obviously music at a wedding, that's great. Everyone's getting up and dancing. But when it's like the cocktail hour and people are just starting to mingle and talk to each other and see each other for the first time and say hi, and the music is so loud that you're having to yell like right next to someone, it drives me absolutely insane. It's like, why am I fucking yelling? And if there's a person like two down from you, no chance I can hear what you're saying. So you have that weird, like if people are in a group, you have that weird instance where like the other person can't really hear you, but they're kind of hearing every other word, just nodding a little bit. It's just so stupid. I don't get why people think you need to have loud music all the time. Like there's a time and a place, and when discussion is key, it's not the place.
Yeah, I think people equate loud music with fun, but I agree with you. I mean, look, if you're in a club or if you're in a bar where and even then here, right, we have like good enough sound systems nowadays, you can separate, you should be able to have where people are dancing be louder music and then have that fade down slightly as you move away from a dance floor. So even within a bar with a large dance space, you should be able to create an environment where there are some spaces that people can kind of talk. But yeah, it bothers me in any circumstance, like especially, yeah, you go to a bar or a pub and the music is just too loud, which typically tends to happen as they kind of transition from sort of daytime to nighttime, and then someone just goes like, "Well, the sound should go from 5 to 9 for reasons
Yeah.
unknown." Yeah, it's
It's always
and
a
I
good
agree with you.
indication of a good bar. Like if a bar should be able to feel out when the music should be louder versus not. Do you know what I mean? Like,
The music should never in a bar, the music should never be so loud that you cannot have a conversation. For lots of reasons, right? Like, you think about all the different types of people who are in a bar and all the different types of things they're hoping to get from that experience, and almost all of them involve some degree of conversation. So you're actually not helping anybody apart from the just weird
yeah.
psychos who just want to dance the whole time. Like those are
Yeah,
the
that they're
only
weird psychos. It's okay to dance.
No,
If
dancing
you're
is
going to a bar
fine.
that's like has a lot of dancing, it's fine.
Dancing's fine, but going to I'll die on the hill of saying, like, if you're going for a night out with a group of friends and your only thing you wanna get out of that is just dancing, like, you have no desire to have a conversation at any moment in time with your friends, you just sort of wanna feel the vibes of you dancing with them. Unless you are heavily influenced by certain drugs, I cannot for the life of me understand why that would be the thing you want. That's but I do, and I'll say again, yeah, for me, this is not a I agree with you, it's not an age thing. Even when I was 18 years old and going to bars, I felt like there were lots of bars that I went to where that were just too loud at times, and it was annoying.
All right, so maybe let's jump into some sports topics. Did you want to start with the NFL or with Champions League?
We can start with the Champions League final, which because it's
Okay.
the slightly older topic at this stage, so we can talk
'Cause it's
about
a
PSG's
boring.
wasn't a great match. Neither team played well. Um It
I
kind of
mean,
went.
it was the worst thing you could have happen for
Was
the final with Arsenal
Arsenal
score
scoring
rolling.
6 minutes into it.
Yes. That's the worst thing
Yeah.
you could have had happen.
And look, it's just set me up for some anti-Arsenal chat, which I'll happily take the bait here. And I'm going to say a couple things. One is, if you're an Arsenal supporter and you walk away from that feeling as if, with whatever it was, and by the end of the match, 22, 23% possession, that they somehow deserve to win the match, I think you can be an Arsenal supporter, but you must fundamentally hate football because that's just not the way it's supposed to be played. Similar to the criticism I've leveled at England, so I can say this from a moment of going from not just neutral, being an actual supporter. It wasn't reminiscent of the Euro 2020 final between England and Italy in terms of the way the two teams were set up, but similar in the sense that, England got off to this dream start in the final and then just sat back and just invited pressure onto them rather than thinking, if we can get a second goal, it's kind of game over. And Arsenal kind of did the same thing. They started, maybe for the first 20 minutes or so, they had this kind of high press that was actually PSG were really struggling with. They got the goal on the break. And then as the game wore on, they dropped deeper and deeper and deeper and just sort of invited pressure onto themselves, even though PSG weren't actually playing particularly well. Um, and and there's just this narrative of, well, didn't Arsenal defend really well? PSG are one of the most explosive attacking teams in Europe, and then Arsenal basically stopped them from creating any real chances. And that's kind of okay. That's kind of true. They defended quite well. They had 11 men behind the ball in their own half for the vast majority of the match. So I don't know why they shouldn't defend well. But, Arteta spent over £1 billion to put together that side. Like, this isn't some plucky underdog who somehow scraped their way to the final and now find themselves in some huge mismatch where their only option is to kill the game and defend for their lives. In that scenario,
reinventing the way you win with like a low budget, like plucky squad. That's not it. No.
Like,
this
if Curacao make the World Cup final and they just sit back and defend for their lives in the World Cup final, I won't criticize them for that. But if you have talented players and you have spent a huge amount of money to put that squad together, if the best thing that you can come up with is just park the bus, I don't know how, as a supporter, you can feel like that's entertainment. And as a neutral, I came away from that Champions League final thinking it was honestly dog shit. The only redeeming factor it had was that it was 1-1 and went to a penalty shootout, which I quite enjoy. And so it just had the tension of a close game. That's all it had. It had no excitement in terms of good attacking play from either team.
No.
Like, I came away feeling worse about both teams. PSG somehow are back-to-back European champions. The one thing I thought throughout that match is that every Bayern Munich player must have been sitting there watching that thinking, how the fuck are we not in the final and how are we not going to be champions of Europe this year? Because this is awful. And I have no doubt that had you stuck Bayern Munich into that final playing against either of those teams, that they would have won comfortably based on how they performed on the night.
You can say that, but PSG did beat them in the semifinals pretty fair and square. There was nothing, it wasn't like a fluke that they beat them.
They had some pretty favorable refereeing decisions in the second leg. They should have had a player sent off in the first half, for the second yellow card, and that's a theme of the final too, where there's a couple of controversial decisions that were made. The biggest of which is, I don't know how Arsenal had 11 men for that entire match. I don't know how I don't know how you award that penalty to a player who's already been booked and you don't give him a second yellow card. I don't understand the logic of that. You have a scenario where you have a player get goal side, have a tackle that's made on him that doesn't win any of the ball, and yet it's not a booking. It's almost a straight red because you could start to get towards the argument that it was denying a clear goal scoring opportunity. That would have been harsh. He's not sort of about to shoot. He's about to put a cross in or, kind of put the ball across the face of goal. But it's closer to a red card than it is to no booking. That to me is without doubt. So again, Arsenal supporters who I know will bring up, oh, Madueke, that should have been a penalty. I don't actually agree with that. I think he's fouled outside the box, and then I actually think he fouls a defender as they go into the box because it's him who wraps his arm around the defender and then pulls the defender down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should have been a foul outside of the box. It should have been a free kick to Arsenal just outside the box and a booking to the PSG defender, but it's not a penalty. And I mean,
what about the Saka handball? What did you think of that one? Did you see the one angle from like behind the goal? That angle is like a lot more incriminating than the other angles. I still think it's too quick of a play to call it. You know, it seems like it's very like a bang bang play.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it has the timing to almost be intentional, if you see what I mean. But it does look somewhat more intentional from the back view.
Again, this is the thing is, and obviously the ways that the handball law is interpreted across different leagues and different competitions differs. You definitely see penalties given for that same thing in different instances. I don't personally think it's a penalty. But I think the correct decision was made. But yeah, you're going to see similar incidents happen where a penalty is awarded. The worst part, I mean, the moment that I think every Arsenal fan should appreciate that their club is killing football. There was the one moment when Arsenal had a shot that hit a PSG defender's knee, and it cut directly to Arteta, who was then adamantly appealing for a handball. I mean, he turns around and he's just screaming, handball, handball, handball. And you see the replay, and it's nowhere near to anyone's hand or arm. It hits a player's knee. And you just think of what the mentality, how indicative that is of how the team is organized and managed and run, where he just sees a ball get deflected for a corner and wants to appeal for a penalty. It's honestly disgusting in terms of what that shows for a level of sportsmanship, where he doesn't know what's happened. He's, 45 yards away from the play. He has not seen a replay. He's not watching a television screen because he's standing on the touchline the entire match. And instantly he just wants a penalty to be awarded and is furious in that moment that it isn't. And then kind of realizes as he's appealing for it, I think he realizes that, oh, maybe there's no penalty. So then sort of it kind of evolved into a clap as if he was trying to kind of G up the players. It's just sad. If I was in charge of UEFA, I would have banned him just for that. He just a 10 match touchline ban just for being an absolute dickhead in the midst of a Champions League final.
I mean, I guess getting calls in their favor though is something that they're accustomed to. A friend of the podcast and listener, Ollie, gave us a little video where it was, I think this was just in the Premier League. Arsenal had 11 errors in favor, calls, like wrongful calls in their favor, 11, and 0 against. And that is by far, hands down, the most by any Premier League team. The next closest was Chelsea, who had 4 errors in their favor and 0 against. So 7 more than the next closest team.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I saw an article, I think it was in The Athletic, where they tried to redo the Premier League table if it accounted for if correct decisions had been made. And I think the big winners were Fulham and Chelsea in terms of points. They made no change at the top of the table. But it's this weird thing of, for example, the Gabriel not being sent off against Manchester City. That had no,
how do we know?
As far as the Athletic was concerned, that had no points impact. It's like, well, you don't think Gabriel being suspended for 3 matches might have impacted the points? Now I don't know what the point of this article really is, because it's trying to treat an unknown like a science, and it's just not possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, unless it's the only instance I'm assuming, right, is like if it was a direct goal called not goal or not goal called goal, right?
And it would need to be even
But
feel
even
confident.
that-
It had to be like a disallowed goal in the 95th minute to
Yeah.
really be able to say, like we always say, people watch sports and then say, well, in the 23rd minute, a penalty should have been awarded, so we should have won that match. It's like, that's not how sports work. It would have completely changed the dynamic. The other team would have tried to score. Like they were, it's not, they don't just do exactly the same things from that point onwards. But yeah, it wasn't.
All right, let's get to the penalties.
Mhm.
How do you feel about Eza's penalty? Because
Yeah,
there's obviously been a lot of criticism because what it looks like and then what happens. But that is consistently what he does. And for the most part, he actually has a decent percentage or record in penalties.
Yeah, I think he's not that great though. I think he's taken 10.
7
he's
out
missed
of 10.
3 now. He's missed 3
7
now.
out
That's
of
not
10.
that great. It's not that like it's not 70%.
Yeah.
70%, and I think he's missed some of the bigger ones as well. So it also, I think, in more crucial moments, he's tended to miss. Two things I don't like about his technique, and a lot of players actually did the first part of the technique, which is they lined up with the ball and then they sort of hop to the side that they were then going to run up. I don't like it. I don't know why you're adding moving parts in. And on top of it too, people talk about how a straight run up with a penalty is not good because you're closing your hips off to one of the possible angles. So you're basically sort of telling the goalkeeper that about 30 or 40% of the goal is probably not going to be in play with your penalty. I still think if you do the little start straight and then move to the side, you're still slightly simplifying the decision from the goalkeeper's perspective. I think in general, I think too many players complicate the penalty process, the penalty taking process, either with that hop and then with like with the delayed run up, the delayed steps to try and get the goalkeeper to move first. And he's unfortunate because the goalkeeper just did the right thing, which is stand still.
Yeah.
And in the end, the goalkeeper actually went the wrong way. But then he's missed because you've played the mind game back at him and kind of made him panic as he gets to the final stages of taking it. The very best, there's a couple players who are really good at that. Fernandez is really good at it. Jorginho is obviously great at it too. Okay, if you're really, really good at that, Neymar's quite good at it too. Fine. Like if that's your skill, if you really can have the confidence that you can slow down and slow down and slow down and just be watching the goalkeeper, but fundamentally, I think you need to have the best, if you think of like Tony taking penalties, where his thing where he can just not look at the ball, he has a rhythm there and knows exactly where his body is at all times in relation to the ball. And I think with a player like Eze taking it, he doesn't know where he is at that moment. He's got too many moving parts with a lot of pressure coming. I just don't like it. I don't like it as a technique. I'd rather someone just run up, absolutely smash it. And if the goalkeeper goes the right way, the goalkeeper goes the right way. But
Yeah, no, I agree. And what the part that's confusing to me when you start to incorporate that start, stop, getting them to jump first kind of move is if you never actually just go straight and hit it through, the only way then that you start tricking the goalie is if you add more start and stops in, which is what Eza did. He basically started and stopped like 3 or 4 times. At what point do you have to keep doing it where like you're starting and stopping like 6 times because the goalie's like, oh, he's probably going to stop twice and then the third one he's going to kick it. Oh, wait, he did the 4th time. Like if you're never just running straight through, you're never tricking them into, at least I think you're never really tricking them into thinking that you're going to hit it right away. So it's kind of a weird thing. Like I just don't like the move. If you throw it in once in a while, maybe that could be effective. But I think if that's like your go-to every time, I think after a while, goalies are going to do what he did and just say like, I'm literally going to stand here until he finally kicks the ball. Like I'm not going to jump at all.
I guess the response to that is there's 2 things, right? So there's the Jorginho technique where you have the final hop. And Fernandez does this too, sometimes. And if you're able to do that hop at the end, it puts the goalkeeper in a situation where, like, if they're not moving as you're coming down on the hop, then they're not going to get there. So, in a sense, they've removed it's like they're not really, They're hoping you go first, but if you don't go first, you're fucked. And you look at Tony too, he does that really well. Yes, he wants you to move. He's just watching you and he wants you to go before he kicks so that you go left and he goes right. But he also has the confidence there of if you don't move, I'll just go the direction I'm planning on going and I'm going to put it in the corner. And if you haven't already moved, there's no chance you're getting to where I'm going to put it. So like that is the game in a sense, is even though you're slowing it down and you're kind of messing with your own timing, you're putting into the goalkeeper's mind of like, I actually have to make the move first still, because if I don't move first, I'm never going to get to where it's going. And then you have players who do the sort of semi-delayed, like Kane does it sometimes, you do the sort of foot drag thing. So yeah, then they're kind of they're delaying their standard run up and that works. But you got to be good at doing that too.
Yeah.
And I mean, the amount you need to be practicing that to feel comfortable in a high pressure moment that you can start playing around with what you're doing. I don't know. I think if I were a coach, I would be telling my players, just keep it simple. Try and put it into the corner. Like if you do it well, they can't save it. I mean, I don't know why. Again, it's almost as if we're evolving into people are treating it like a hockey shootout where like kind of the advantage is with the goaltender of like, I need to make him kind of go to the ice first or be able to go around him. And it's like, no, he's not big enough to cover the goal. If you just take a really good penalty, you will score. Like,
Yeah.
and if you take a really good penalty and the goalkeeper makes a fantastic save, I think you can live with that. We saw 3 missed penalties in the penalty shootout. None of them were good. The PSG, the save, it wasn't a good penalty. And then obviously the 2 Arsenal players missing, those weren't good penalties either.
And how did you feel about then, obviously, the last one, Gabriel's miss?
It's a super bad penalty. I mean, there's not much you can say when someone just misses. I'm a little bit more sympathetic towards him than I am to like Eze because again, he's not made it too complicated. There are the replays that show that he's maybe like not looking at the ball properly as he strikes it, that he's sort of doing this, what people are calling a no-look penalty, but it's not no-look. He's still kind of looking at the ball. It's the same. We call these things no-look nowadays, which are definitely looks. It's just people sort of flick their head away at a crucial moment at the end. But I don't know. I'm more sympathetic to him, but
I'm less.
It's not
I don't love him.
I'm not a huge fan of him, and he's got a big ego. And I think it's really funny. There was that clip that came out of when David Raya pushed him over in the final. And he falls over because again, it's how Arsenal players are trained, and the dark arts, they know how to take advantage of them. So he feels a push and he falls over because he needs the free kick, and it turns out it was his own goalkeeper. It takes him a while to register that it's his own goalkeeper, so he's on the ground complaining to the referee, even though Raya was the only player anywhere near to him. But he's on the ground, sort of gesticulating towards the referee of like, "Where's the foul? Where's the foul?" It's like, well, unless you want to start calling,
so annoying,
like. But yeah, I mean, of all, I feel bad for any player in any circumstance who misses a sort of final knockout stage missing penalty. Of all the players who were on the pitch, I'm happiest that the person who carries that burden is Gabriel.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say. I still feel sorry for him. Like that will haunt you for the rest of your life. And I mean, I say that thinking about, I can remember crucial mistakes I made playing sports when I was 15 years old and on nowhere near the same, type of stage like a Champions League final. So if I can still sometimes be slightly haunted by those moments, I can't imagine what it's like to miss a penalty in a Champions League final. Even if you go on to win 5 more Champions Leagues, it's still going to bother you for the rest of your life. But of all the players who could be bothered by that who were playing on Saturday, I'm happiest it's him.
And then lastly, I just want to bring this kind of back again. You kind of already mentioned it, but this is now PSG have won this twice in a row. And this year they beat the Bundesliga champions and they beat the Premier League champions. But you are not willing to say that they are the best team in Europe.
No, and to be honest with you, the final, as I said, I came away from the final feeling worse about both teams. The final to me kind of confirmed that. I didn't watch that and think, and look, not every team is kind of completely at the races at all times, but it was
But
one
what do you
team that
need
had.
to do then to be the best team? If you beat the two best teams that won the best leagues, maybe we'll say the Spanish league as well, but
Yeah.
unfortunately they didn't get to play them. But
I mean, ultimately, right? That's an opinion and an eye test, and like what did they combine for between the two teams on Saturday? 3 shots on target, 4 shots on target in 120 minutes of football. And that included PSG's penalty in regular time. It was not a good performance from any of them. And yeah, I don't know. Like I know that I know that someone could disagree with me. I have no way of feeling so confident in my opinion that I could say I could sort of argue facts with someone and try and prove them wrong. If you believe that PSG are the best team in Europe and that that puts them in rarefied air by winning back-to-back European Cups, like no doubt. But I think they're the 7th team to have done it, something like that. So, it's a unique achievement, but I don't know. I I came out of it feeling worse about PSG, worse about Arsenal, worse about Dembele. Like, you looked at a player where you're like a star player getting subbed off who had done nothing. I mean, he took a penalty and scored it in the 90 minutes, but other than that, did absolutely nothing. And this is a guy who potentially could win back-to-back Ballon d'Ors. I don't know. Like, I think most superstars, you would say you'd rather them be running on fumes for 120 minutes than possibly run the risk of taking them off. Like, I cannot imagine a scenario in which, I mean, comparing him to Ronaldo or Messi is tough, but those two are definitely not going off. But even the likes of Harry Kane, like when is Harry Kane getting subbed off in a final, even if he can't move anymore? You would just think we need him there in case the opportunity arises that he can put it away, or just for a penalty shootout, we need to keep him around for that. But yeah, I don't know. Not the best team for me. I think Bayern are better. I think probably Barcelona are better.
yeah, unfortunately Barcelona got knocked out pretty early by Atletico. So,
And if my life depended on it, I'd probably even bet on Manchester City against PSG. It would be a tough one though. But
I guess then that still to me begs the question, and I understand that this isn't fully what the Champions League is about. But to me, the Champions League should kind of be about who is the best overall team in Europe in this given year. Do you still like how it is now with a high percentage of teams playing round robin games, getting into knockout stages, or would you prefer if you just took the best 5 leagues and took the 2 best teams from each league
I mean, I
and
hate
put
that
them up?
version of it. I think the switch to the newer format with the league format is stupid, and I think that's kind of ruined the competition. But and it's going to guarantee we're going to have more back-to-back winners because you're going to allow teams to just cruise through the league stages, and so it's going to guarantee that the kind of big 7 or 8 teams are almost always in the quarterfinals and semifinals, and so therefore, like the chances of back-to-back winners increase. But look, I'd like the Champions League to more closely resemble a Champions League. So I think you should have maximum. I think you should just say, I don't know, however many teams from countries in Europe participate in this 23, 24, 25, two teams from each competition, regardless of how shit it is. I'm happy having 2 teams from the Maltese League be in there. Just have that be the case. Have that be the way it works out. And, you know, but this idea, I mean, we've now got, leagues with England, what is 5 teams next season, 6 teams next season? It's insane. And we're going to call it the Champions League. Like, if Aston Villa win the Champions League next year, a team that's never won the championship and never won the Premier League, and they're going to win the Champions League. It doesn't make any sense in terms of how they kind of. But I mean, to counter what your initial premise, initial premise is, I don't think there is a sports league in the world that consistently the outcome is that the very best team won it. The Super Bowl is not won by the best team every year. The World Series isn't won by. You could maybe say that, baseball or NBA, because you have, or ice hockey, you have 7-game series, so it's a lot more likely that the better team wins. But even then, you see. I mean, look, you've been saying for our limited NHL coverage, you were calling the Colorado Avalanche the best team in the league.
Yeah.
And then they got knocked out.
They did get knocked out.
So,
pretty handily.
Does that mean in your mind they're not the best team? Or do you think deep down inside of you think that's the best team? And if, that's.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I guess my argument for if you just narrowed it down to a smaller set of teams, because I think one of the main criticisms you had as to why PSG kind of not get away with winning, because they did win, but make it easier on themselves is because there's so many matches that they are in unique opportunities where they can rest players where other teams can't. So if you have a much smaller competition and maybe you limit the number of games that are played, you have teams that are then not having to fill in this game into their calendar and have unrested players and this and that, where you have a more level, even playing field instead of having to play in a tournament where you're going to play 15 matches or 10 matches or however many it was.
The issue there, right, is that ultimately PSG play, of all the big leagues, of all the teams that have realistically a chance of winning the Champions League going into every season, they play in the weakest league. And so what that means is they can basically configure a squad and manage that squad to just optimize performance in the Champions League in a way that no other team of all the big teams can do. The closest is Bayern Munich, but even Bayern Munich, as we've seen from the fact that they have not, they didn't win the Bundesliga a couple of years ago. Even Bayern Munich have to worry about, Bayer Leverkusen are good this year. Dortmund are good this year, and legitimately good. And so they need to play their strongest and best team consistently within the league. And when they play those teams, if it happens, what made the Ligue 1 such a farce this year is not only were they moving that fixture for PSG, that was PSG against Lens. That was first against second in the table. And they moved that fixture. That's as if Manchester City and Arsenal, when they had that title crunch match, had that match had been moved to accommodate Arsenal's European fixtures, which not only would the Premier League never do, Arsenal wouldn't do, because then they would think to themselves, oh my God, now, all right, maybe that helps us a little bit ahead of this Champions League game, but we're now going to have to play 6 Premier League matches in the course, or 4 Premier League matches in the course of 10 days, one of which is going to be against Manchester City. We're going to punt the league in exchange for winning the Champions League. PSG can say, that's okay. PSG, I think, would say, we'll play 7 Ligue 1 matches in 7 days, and we'll rotate our players, and most of the teams we play against, it will be fine. We'll win those games.
Yeah.
We'll throw youth team members out there, and it will be fine. And, that's the biggest difference. And there's nothing you can do to address that, because without pumping huge amounts of money into the next 6 clubs in Ligue 1, there's nothing else.
Anything else Champions League related? Or this kind of puts a seal on, I guess, the domestic leagues as we ramp up now for World Cup.
Yeah, no, I'd say that's pretty much it.
And I guess for our listeners, we'll have a nice World Cup preview coming up soon. I don't know if we'll be able to cover every team like we used to back in the day, because it's now quite an expensive list of teams.
Yeah, and I'll be perfectly honest, I can't name that many Curaçao players anyway. So, I will say
or
English teams.
Caraco, as it's called in Canada.
Yeah. The
Sorry,
one
Wayne
good
Gretzky
stat
had to fire a
the
shot.
one good stat I did see is that English teams have now scored the first goal in the Champions League final 11 times.
Wow.
9 of those teams have gone on
Have
to
lost.
win the Champions League final.
Oh.
The only 2 who have scored first and not won is Arsenal, the 2 times they've appeared in the Champions League final.
Oh, that's a great stat. I
So.
like that. Nice. I guess as a little preview for our transition from the domestic leagues to the World Cup, I have a little quiz for you and maybe for our listeners as they listen. Can you name we'll do the top 5 because that's where there's a decent cutoff. The top 5 clubs that have the most players playing in the World Cup. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yes. So
Out of all the leagues, not just
which
the Premier
5
League.
clubs have the most players at the World Cup?
And I will say the 5th team has 15 players playing in the World Cup, and the first team has 19 players in the World Cup. So you're in a range of 19 to 15 players on the roster being in the World Cup.
Okay. I don't think this is going to be super hard because I think will be dominated by big European clubs.
Okay. So you think. Okay.
I'll guess it. Manchester City.
Manchester City, number 1, 19 players.
Bayern Munich.
And I was going to say, and 4 English players. Bayern Munich, number 2, with 18 players, and 7 are from Germany.
Barcelona.
Barcelona, number 5, with 15 players, and
Paris
8 of
Saint-Germain.
those are Spain. PSG, tied for 3rd with 16 players, and 5 are French. I would have expected more, actually.
Arsenal.
And Arsenal, 5 for 5. Look at that. Gets them all. Arsenal, also 16 players.
It's almost just a list of the 5 biggest clubs in Europe at the moment. I mean, it's not.
Well, Real Madrid, I would have thought maybe would
Maybe.
be. I think Real Madrid isn't a terrible guess.
The thing is, in the past, right, if you'd gone back in time, it would have been a lot harder because you would have had like a Mexican club that had 90% of the Mexican squad or something along those lines. But we just don't have that anymore because everyone moves to Europe or everyone moves to a major league. You know, like there's more Mexican players playing in the MLS or wherever it is. So like if we'd done in 1994 the same quiz, it would have probably been impossible because it would have been like, oh, actually Colombia, you know, like 17 of their players are playing for Colo Colo or whatever. You know, it would have been just too challenging.
I will say if we extended it to the top 10, I think you would have struggled though, because Crystal Palace is in that list. I don't know if Crystal Palace is a name you guess in the top 10.
Can I guess another name that I think would be an outside, like a more unusual name? I'll say Al Hilal will be in the top 10.
I think it's Al Hilal. I don't know what their symbol looks like, and it doesn't say their name, but it's definitely a Saudi team.
And then I think, you'd have Spanish teams.
And Argentina. What's the Argentina one?
Boca Juniors.
Wait, maybe that's not. Maybe. Hold on. That could be wrong. Oh, no. Sorry. I apologize. It's Atletico Madrid. It had what's his face in his Argentina jersey. So that's why I got confused. Alvarez.
Oh, Alvarez, even though he now plays for Barcelona.
Yeah, it had him in his Argentinian jersey, so that kind of got me confused a little bit.
The only other World Cup topic I just wanted to discuss before we move on, obviously, to the NFL, England announced their squad numbers, which is obviously England have gone for this traditional route of the squad numbers are representative of the status the players kind of should have. Like they've basically, you can tell what the best 11 Tuchel thinks his squad will be based on the squad numbers that have been assigned, which is interesting in that You see the fullbacks are going to be Konsa and O'Reilly. So it kind of settles that
Okay.
conversation. It guarantees, I think everyone knew that Bellingham would be starting, but he's given it in the number 10 jersey. So
There
that's confirmation that he will be. And Marcus Rashford is got the number 11. So it will be Rashford and Saka on the wings.
Nice. That's the question I had. Was Saka in the Champions League final?
He was there. He didn't do a lot.
Okay.
But he was.
I didn't actually see him at all, so I wasn't sure if he was.
Well, you
even
did
there.
when he nearly gave away a penalty.
That's true. That's the last I saw of him. That was his best play.
It's a little bit, his disappearance from big matches is a little bit concerning.
A little worrying.
He's been a little bit better for England, but it's a little bit worrying. Along similar lines as the question that you asked, I'll flip it. I got a World Cup quiz question for you, which I saw the list of World Cup squads with the most number of players in the squad not born in the country that they are representing.
Oh, we can't do this. You yelled at me when I tried to talk about this last time.
No, because you
yelled
did it
at me for this.
Because you did it in the are they really French thing. I'm not accusing these people, because I'll throw in, for example, one of the members on this list is Erling Haaland, who was born in England, but I don't think anyone's denying that Erling Haaland is a Norwegian, should be playing for Norway. Now, I'm not going to challenge you too much, because the countries with the most are Tunisia, Haiti, Algeria, Bosnia, Morocco, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Curacao. I'm not sure Curacao has a single member in their squad born in Curacao. They were all born in the Netherlands.
So this is the opposite. You're saying is the countries whose team makeup is not from people from that country, not the other way around. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So of the big nations, I'm throwing out, as I said, all those. I'll even continue it. Other nations with a high representation of players not born in their country: Cape Verde, Qatar, Senegal, Tunisia, Iraq, Australia. But of the big countries, which big country do you think has the most number of players not born in that country representing them?
Ooh, okay. I think I have my answer. It's just, you just want just the top country. The top major country. I'm going to go with France.
It is France, but it's a surprisingly low number. It's only 3.
3?
It's
that's lower than I thought it was. I would like to know the other way. I think that's always an interesting one, right? Because you mentioned England with Erling Haaland, but England have a few players who are playing for other countries. No,
England have a lot. France have a ton, because Haiti is mostly French, Tunisia is a lot of French, Algeria is mostly French. So Morocco's a decent number of French. Democratic Republic of Congo's a decent number of French. So Ivory Coast is mostly French. Senegal's mostly French. So definitely the most would be French. The English players born in England not representing England would include, I think I can almost be exhaustive. So you have Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Aaron Shibola playing for the Democratic Republic of Congo. You have Zidane Iqbal playing for Iraq. That's a miss for England. You have Jerome Opoku, Antoine Semenyo. That's a killer. And Brandon Thomas Asante playing for Ghana.
What's his face from Crystal Palace, right?
I'm going to give you an exhaustive list.
Oh, okay.
Tommy Smith, Joe Bell, and Matthew Garbett, who play for New Zealand. Angus Quinn, Scott McTominay, Che Adams, George Hurst, and Tyler Fletcher, who all play for Scotland. Owen Goodman.
McTominay's English?
He was born in England.
Okay.
Owen Goodman, Luc de Forgerol, Alfie Jones, who play for Canada.
Alfie Jones. Wow, that would be a good one.
Anthony Robinson, Giovanni Reina, and Sebastian Berhalter for the United States.
Yeah, I knew those.
And Michael Elise is the one you're referring to for France, who now plays for Bayern Munich,
Elise.
but used to play for Crystal Palace.
That's right.
Marvin Keller, who's plays for Switzerland. Theo Asgard and Erling Haaland, who play for Norway. And that is it. It's completely exhaustive. It's every single one. So it's as exhaustive as it could possibly be. Now, transitioning to the NFL, obviously, because we've got some big NFL talk, I want to start by saying I have reasons, I think, in my pantheon of players, both current and former athletes, who I have to say I like the most. I think I have a new one who has to go top of the list.
Oh, top of the list. I thought you were going to say players I like the most that go to the bottom of the list because you were a big proponent of Myles Garrett staying on the Browns and that you expected that. And he instantly just
I wouldn't say instantly. We've been discussing it for years. I don't know how instant that's been. But before we get to Myles Garrett, this is the transition to the NFL. This is the guy I want to put top of the list.
Oh, boy. I don't know who I want to guess here. I don't know how much trouble I want to put myself in. So I'll guess no one.
So there you go. Alex Smith, former NFL quarterback, who we have spoken about quite a lot on this podcast as we've praised him for the recovery that he had.
I love Alex Smith.
Gruesome looking injury. Alex Smith might now have to go top of the totem pole for me on athletes I respect.
I've always thought highly of Alex Smith. I like that take that he has.
Yeah, and it's also worth acknowledging, right, that Alex Smith is quite religious. So it's not as if this is someone who, with no religious background, saying, sort of like me, put myself into that category, a non-religious person saying, stop praising God. This is someone who actually is. And we had it in the Champions League final where Doué, the first thing he had to do was thank his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So, it's everywhere all the time now. And yes, I'm glad Alex Smith put that message out there. Not that I think it will be listened to. But okay, now we can go on to big trades, and we can start with Myles Garrett, who was traded to the LA Rams. What was that, yesterday or today? I can't even remember now where it falls.
For Jared first, and then a 2027 first rounder, 2028 second rounder, and 2029 third rounder.
Yeah. I mean, Jared Verse is a good player. So it feels like the Browns got a reasonable amount of value out of this. If I were them, I think I would have wanted one more first or second rounder to really feel like they were getting sort of true value for a guy who just broke a sack record. Admittedly, is the wrong side of 30. So how many more years are you really going to get out of him? But
also to sign a new deal too. I mean, that's like
he did
big that's big on the side for the Rams, right? Because a lot of times you'll see a trade like this happen, but they have 1 or 2 more years left on a deal, right? So like you can make the argument like, why would I give you 2 first rounders for a guy that's only going to be on my team for 1 to 2 more years? Whereas they'll have Garrett for a while, and yeah, maybe he'll be getting old, but like he's locked in on their team. So I agree with you. I think it's not the worst trade, but I think is a little short on the draft pick side in what the Browns get in return.
Yeah, and the tough thing is, from a salary perspective, huge win for the Browns. Jared Verse, he has 2 years left on his deal plus team option. So 3 years left. And okay, you can kind of guarantee that's at least 4 years because, it's easy enough to, avoid him going to kind of really hitting the free agency market. Will Jared Verse sign another contract in Cleveland? Like, that's the tricky question. And so are you just going to end up trading Jared Verse 2 years from now when he makes it clear that he doesn't want to stay in Cleveland anymore because the team is still going through a rebuilding process and isn't particularly good? And he's a player who's just gone from a Super Bowl contender to a team that will be, in all likelihood, one of the worst 5 teams in the league. Like, that's never mind the conversation about moving from LA to Cleveland. Just thinking about it from what's your kind of weekly playing experience look like? Like, that's got to feel like a blow. Like, that has to suck as a player. I don't know. I think if I were the Browns, I would have just accepted that they should hold on to Garrett for the remainder of his career. And yes, I will also agree. And I know that they may have made this trade because he's made it clear to them that he wants to leave, and they've decided to accommodate that fact. But if you're Myles Garrett, this is Super Bowl or bust for me now, for him, in terms of what his legacy looks like. Like, this is ring chasing, and if you go and get the ring, then you cement yourself in terms of being in the greatest ever defensive player conversation because you get the individual statistical performance plus winning a championship. If he ends up not winning a Super Bowl with the Rams, I think you look worse as a result.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think especially on the Rams right now, right? Like, this puts the Rams as now a front-running team in the NFC for maybe 2 more years.
Does it change that much? Because this is the interesting thing. Because, like, Verse was good. So, like, I know Garrett's an upgrade on Verse, but I don't know if he's that big of an upgrade. Like, I don't know if this significantly moves the needle for me in terms of what I expect out of the Rams. Now,
Well,
the
you gotta
Rams
figure
ended last.
what the Rams, like, the Seahawks are, won, right? And they're in their division. And the Seahawks were great at throwing the ball against the Rams. So maybe this is the way that they can now beat them is with more pressure. Maybe that's the best way to beat them is put more pressure on Sam Darnold, who notoriously when he gets under pressure can not be the best of quarterbacks. So maybe it's a pretty decent upgrade. But I agree with you. Jared Verse was decent. I still think, though, Myles Garrett is, you're saying maybe, a top 10 in the league versus potentially the best in his position ever.
Sure, but again, who's getting older? So there's going to be a moment in time, and I don't think
They say
Garrett's
30 is the new 18.
Yeah, I don't think Garrett's about to drop off a cliff, but I don't know. And look,
But what if
I
this
think
also brings back Aaron Donald?
it
Aaron
won't.
Donald.
It won't. I know he
I
did
don't
that
know.
social media post, but there's plenty of clips about him talking about he has no interest in ever playing football again. But I also think, like, ultimately how good of a move this is for the Browns will be determined by the quality of the pick of like what they get out of those draft picks. And, like, this is a risk in a sense for the Rams too, because if whoever the Rams' first rounder is turns out to be a Hall of Famer, then people are going to say, like, the Rams threw it away by trading for an aging Myles Garrett, unless they win a Super Bowl. Why did you pick a backup quarterback in the first round if you were if part of your mind was we want to address a major, like, they could have traded up in the draft and picked up one of the, like, elite edge rushers in the draft to kind of try and bring them in as well, giving away less than they gave away to get Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
And
Or I kind of to what you're saying, if at the end of the day, all they want to do is draft like a backup QB, they could have just traded this year's pick and punted that backup QB thing down the line a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, because
yeah,
this year that pick was what, 30th or whatever it was, 28th, like low, very low, right? So I mean, like, you
yes.
could have, like, it's a low pick. You could have just traded that away and say, like, all right, we get the 4th or 5th best QB in the draft, or we use this to get Myles Garrett, and then next year we can use our first round, which will either be in the same area if we make it as far as we think, or if we implode, it's a better draft pick. You know what I mean? That we can get a better backup quarterback. Like, why not just use it then?
Yeah, and maybe they tried to, and the Browns didn't have any interest in someone in that. I mean, this is the other issue in terms of talking about what value the Browns got. They effectively got 2 second-rounders because there's no way the Rams pick isn't, let's say, at best 24th in the draft. Like,
I was
that's
say
if the
22nd, but yeah.
yeah, like a catastrophic Rams season still has them picking in the final 10 picks of the first round, basically. So, it's, yeah, you can be the Browns and cross your fingers that, like, Matthew Stafford goes down hurt in the first week, and that, like, and you could probably talk yourselves into, like, it's a really tough division. If the Seahawks and the Niners are really, really good, then maybe the Rams even miss the playoffs. It doesn't take that much. Like, they could win a lot of games and miss the playoffs. You never know, but I don't know. Yes, I've been on the record before. If I'm Myles Garrett, like, he was on court, he was gonna have a statue outside of the Brown Stadium. He might have even had, like,
Oh,
part of the
wow.
state.
Not outside the Browns Stadium. Oh, boy.
I think we don't think enough about what that type of legacy means. Like, he's gonna be a Hall of Famer, so, yes, he's kinda guaranteed to have that thing. But I think if you think about, like, for your future family or people visiting and getting, like, what would be cooler for you if you had a grandparent who you got to say won a Super Bowl, or if every time you went to Giant Stadium, they had a statue outside of Giant Stadium? Like, the statue is a hard thing to beat in terms of just how cool that is.
But the caveat wouldn't just be he, like, won, if the caveat is, like, he's a backup player that won the Super Bowl, yes, but I can then say, yes, my father was a Super Bowl winner, and, oh, yeah, he holds the sack record and is top 3 defensive ends of all time. He doesn't have a statue out front of a stadium, but he's still a top 3 in his position of all time.
I'd rather have the statue would mean a lot to me. Like, I think the statue is so cool. I think we make sometimes too many like, there's a few people who have statues who don't really deserve them. Like, I don't know, like Allen Iverson having a statue outside the Sixers. And I know that they do those statues for a lot of people, so I'm not just singling out Allen Iverson, but I do think if, like, I don't know if in a sort of team as storied as the 76ers, I don't know. I know that Allen Iverson was a great player and people loved him, but I think statue seems to be going a bit far. But I don't know. I think the statue would be so cool.
So there are currently 2 players with statues located outside the team's lakefront stadium.
Okay.
Jim Brown.
Yeah. I'm
and
sure
Otto
I'm not going to
Graham.
be. Okay. I mean, those are 2 huge names in the history of the NFL. He would have been a third, and then you're really putting yourself in a league. And I'm also going to say, and I don't want to, Myles Garrett's been pretty active and outspoken from a social perspective. So I also think having a statue by Jim Brown is cool in terms of who you're then, sitting alongside. I don't know. And I think I want the statue. Like, I'm trying to think of who, because I'm trying to basically say, like, Tom Brady got his statue, but let's say Tom Brady didn't get a statue outside of this. How much of a drop off do I need from the Tom Brady's career to quarterback in the NFL, but you got a statue? Okay, I'll give you one. If Tom Brady hadn't got a statue, I would have rather been Matt Ryan with a statue outside of the Falcons Stadium.
Wait, what? This is very confusing. Say it again.
It's tough because Tom Brady has a statue now. But let's say for whatever reason, let's say the Patriots come out and said, because you left, no statue for you. Like the Patriot statues are
Okay.
just for lifetime Patriots players.
So everything else Brady does in his entire career stands. He just doesn't have a statue.
Yes. I'd
Okay.
rather, but then if you tell me that Matt Ryan's getting a statue outside Falcon Stadium, I'd rather, or the Mercedes-Benz Arena, whatever it's called, I would rather be Matt Ryan in that instance than Tom Brady.
Get the heck out of here. That's
100%.
craziness.
No,
No, that is so
yeah.
insane. No, I don't believe that for a second. Are you also incorporating the fact that Tom Brady's weird? Like, is that part of the scenario?
Yeah, I think, yeah, they are who they are. They're both kind of weird
No,
guys.
that's a little different. Like, if you don't want, I don't know necessarily if I want to be Tom Brady because he seems a little insane, but if I had to have the career of one of those, I'd much rather have Brady's career than be Matt Ryan with a statue. I mean, granted, he's got the better nickname in Matty Ice, but if his statue is made of ice, that'd be really sick. If they could keep it cold on ice the entire time.
They rebuild it every day. It's an incredible commitment on the part of the Falcons in a climate that is not suited to ice statues whatsoever. That's how much they loved him. I don't know. I know that compared to most people, and I'm sure lots of listeners will say, I am overvaluing the statue. The statue is so cool. In the same way that I'd want like a stand named after me. You know, like a section. If you told me the Browns in their new stadium build, that one part of it was you're going to have like the Myles Garrett, end or whatever, like that the dog pound is going to be situated in the Myles Garrett section. That to me is so much cooler than going off to the Rams and winning a Super Bowl. Maybe. And especially to me, the issue with the Rams move is that he's always now, even in Rams sort of folklore, no matter what he does, he'll sit underneath Aaron Donald in that same defensive player, modern era comparison of Rams players. And so you don't even have the opportunity of, I'm going to a team, but I kind of get to establish myself as their sort of the face of their defensive players over the last 20 years. Like, no, unless the Rams now win 3 Super Bowls in a row or something insane.
And he breaks the sack record every year.
Yeah, it's going to be like, no, that's cool, but Aaron Donald was our guy.
And then the other trade, obviously, was A.J. Brown. Finally was traded from the Eagles to the Patriots, and that was for a 2027 fifth rounder and 2028 first round pick.
Yeah, not a huge amount of value for the Eagles, but obviously I think the relationship there appears to have been completely fractured. I think if I'm Vrabel, I would have wanted this trade. I would have tried to veto this trade because obviously, like Diana Rossini had been speculating that this trade was going to happen. She was the person who was adamant that A.J. Brown was going to end up on the Patriots. And that's part of the thing that, in a sense, led to the whole exposure in the story was this idea that she was just speaking to Vrabel and she was trying to disrupt the Eagles. She was pissing Eagles fans off because every other NFL insider was saying that there was no truth behind this story and that A.J. Brown was staying. And then now it transpires that he's actually ended up going there, but has ruined both of these people's marriages in the process. And that doesn't, I think if I'm Vrabel, I would have gone, you know what, guys, let's just not do this. This is even worse if we now actually get this player. Like, I don't think he's going to be able to save his marriage anyway, but this, in a sense, guarantees that he can't because every time A.J. Brown plays for the Patriots, like
it's a reminder.
Yeah, kind of. Like Rossini's name has to come up and the affair has to come up. It's impossible that it doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, they got I think that's a pretty good deal for A.J. Brown. I mean, a first rounder 2 years from now. where if you expect he makes the impact that he's going to make again, then you're not giving up a top 10 draft pick, most likely. And if this implodes on the Patriots, then yeah, that looks like a terrible deal. But, if it goes the way you think it's going to go, then that you really haven't given up much. I guess that's the slight risk there. But 29 years old, what is the cutoff for wide receivers, do you think?
26.
Yeah,
the list of players of a similar age. So, Randy Moss is probably the best example of a player moving. He was 30 when he went to the Patriots and obviously had the best period of his career at that point with Tom Brady.
Yeah. It's not a terrible comparison because they kind of have a little similar style.
Yeah.
Bigger wide receivers that are physical.
The difference being, though, right, is at that stage, the Patriots were already a dynasty. So he was just sort of the extra thing they needed offensively. Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. So that's a little bit different from having Drake May throw you the ball. We saw how that went in the Super Bowl. And then, A.J. Brown's not as good as Randy Moss. Other similar trades, Devontae Adams was 29 when he got traded to the Raiders. He's done well, but not been
here's a question I got for you.
Game changer.
How many wide receivers last year in the top 10 in receiving yards, which was basically 1,000 yards was the cutoff, were over the age, let's say he's currently 28, so I'll give you that, 28 or older. Top 10 in receiving yards from last year.
Oh, boy. I got to put myself back in terms of the mindset of who was good. So Puka Nacua, no. Jackson Smith and Jigba, no. Jamar Chase, no. Amon-Ra St. Brown, no. Who else was good? Pickens, no.
Decent memory of receivers. You've got the top 5 already.
I can't think of any others. Trying to go by teams.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the answer to the question.
Nico Collins, no.
Yeah, he was on the list.
So nobody?
The answer is 0. Yes. The answer is 0 wide receivers. Yeah, so that's not a great stat right off the bat there. I know that's only 1 year, but, I think the last 5 years, the consistent trend is wide receivers are doing better coming kind of right out of their rookie season, like years 2, 3, and 4 than they are on years 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, and if you think of a couple of them, and these aren't good comparisons in terms of style of play, but parallels in terms of how impactful they were on teams at certain times might be like Deebo Samuel and Tyreek Hill of two older players.
I was going to say.
And then they've gone to new teams and had virtually no impact. Can they still have the occasional good game, but they're not really changing things. And I guess ultimately too, I didn't watch that Super Bowl and think to myself, what the Patriots are sorely lacking is a receiver. Not that they had elite receivers, but that wasn't the difference between them and the Seahawks. A.J. Brown could have been standing wide open on every play of that game, and it wouldn't have mattered because Drake May was on his ass, before he would have been able to get rid of the ball. So and I know this isn't the only thing they're trying to do to improve their team. But yeah, I don't know.
So the last time a receiver over 28 years of age was in the top 10 was 2023. So 3 seasons ago. And that was Tyreek Hill, who led the NFL at age 29. And then you also had Mike Evans and Keenan Allen at 9 and 10, who are both over 30. So it doesn't happen very often. It can happen, but look at Tyreek Hill. He took a decently sharp drop off from there. I guess Mike Evans is still consistently decent, but he's always injured. So that's another component of it. As you get older, you're going to get more injured. So you might be good, but your production might not be as good as it was because you're, more prone to injuries.
What I would really love too is if Diana Rossini eventually writes some kind of tell-all book, and then AJ Brown reads that on the sidelines. Like that. That would be when this really comes completely full circle.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. The other NFL talking point, maybe not a major talking point, but OBJ going back to the Giants. Signed a deal to get back on the Giants. I don't hate it. I liked OBJ when he was on the Giants. I think they don't have any. I mean, they have obviously Malik Neighbors, who's seems to be still injured, even though he's playing in charity softball tournaments, which just fucking drives me insane that they let their players do that. It's so fucking stupid. They're pretty short on receivers, so
I find
whatever,
that interesting. It's always interesting to me. I don't know, like, you're an elite athlete. Are we really that worried about someone getting injured in a charity softball game? I know it was a bad look on
he's coming off a torn ACL and he was like limping as he was playing still.
I know, but presumably he's been given the all clear. You know what I mean? Like, at what stage?
Doesn't look like it.
I know it looked bad with Stevenson, the Patriots running back, who got sort of like taken out on a play at second base. That was I think a little bit more worrying, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
I'm just surprised.
Here's my question though. I agree with you, but he's not playing in OTAs, so he's not practicing with the Giants. He's sitting out on the sidelines. So in that scenario, you should not be playing in other sporting events, charity or not. If you can't participate in practice, then you shouldn't be participating in other things.
Maybe he just hates Jaxson Dart, which is, I'm surprised this is the Giants storyline that you wanted to go with.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were going to talk about OBJ and his prior chescapades.
Yeah, I mean, look, we don't really have to weigh in too much on the Jaxson Dart, Trump, Abdul Carter situation. I will say, similar to me bumping Alex Smith up, I'm going to bump Abdul Carter up in my current athletes I like list, just because I think he spoke really well when he addressed the issue when speaking to the press. Meanwhile, we actually have a scoop, because I know Jaxson Dart already spoke to the media and then said that he has, as far as he was concerned, his statement addressed all future questions. But I actually managed to interview him privately and get a new quote from him to explain why he had decided to go to that event and how important he thought it was. Well said. And that isn't me. I just want to be clear. That isn't me really weighing on the political differences between either of those two people, but stark contrast in their ability to express how they felt on the topic. Abdul Carter really felt confident and comfortable in what he was saying. Jaxson Dart came across as a guy whose brother is named Diesel Dart, which is true.
It is true. I don't know if his born name is Diesel.
No, I think it is. I think that's his real name is Diesel Dart.
Yeah,
I mean, that Jaxson is Jaxson Jaxson. You're going to rule out that the parents who decided to go X and S also would call one of their other sons Diesel.
I thought you were going to go with the Tyrod Taylor. Not Tyrod Taylor, Jameis Winston response, his like 15-minute rant that he went on.
You know what? He went on too long, and as with all things Jameis Winston, he then tries to get into these like weird analogies and bring up other topics. Weird. But the initial thing he said, I actually thought was pretty good. If he had stopped talking after about 40 seconds, I would have walked away saying...
If he had just been earnest and not tried to be Jameis Winston, the character.
Yes. But the actual thing that he said in terms of defending both of them, but also acknowledging the fact that for Abdul Carter, as an African American Muslim, that perhaps the current president is not someone who is super popular. It was a fair point. But then he had to, unfortunately, Jameis Winston it up for another 2.5 minutes. But
I don't even forget. I can't remember what the analogy was, but it was so insane. It was like, what is this guy talking about?
Plus, he just starts doing this thing where he starts looking at the ceiling a lot and stuff. Like, that's just what he does. He you know, and he's treating it almost as if it's a conversation, but obviously he's at a podium. No one else is speaking. So, yeah, it's a tricky situation. The only thing I will say on this, and look, we're not a political podcast. We don't weigh in on a lot of politics. I actually don't think, I think it's weird for a current athlete to be showing up to kind of politically campaign for someone. I do think that's a little bit bizarre at times, but you have the right to do it. But personally, if I were an athlete, except in extreme circumstances or, like really particular instances, I think on a national level, maybe on a local level where I felt like, hey, this is my town or the area of a city, and I think this person really is helping out sort of where I came from, I could maybe see that. And I know it was an event where he was also representing like someone running for whatever it is, New Jersey Congress or governor or whatever it was. The only other thing I'll say is people saying like Trump is undoubtedly more divisive for good reason than probably any other president in U.S. history, certainly in the modern era. So this isn't the equivalent of if you'd gone to an Obama event or gone to a George W. Bush event. And I think the athletes themselves need to be aware of that, even if they are Trump supporters. Like there needs to be some degree of common sense that goes into it. But that's it. That's all I'm going to say. It's like this is not all things are created equal in terms of how controversial or divisive or upsetting certain politicians are. And that's all. That's as political as I will get. And I know you won't say anything. So that's as political as we will get. But not a great sign for the New York Giants. I think we need to, on the win prediction, I'm gonna take them down a win or two.
I love it. It's just gonna make OTAs. They're gonna be more fired up. They're gonna practice harder. They're gonna be good to go.
Like the only way this gets saved is this is like a Remember the Titans moment with like sunshine, and they just like let them through at some moment, and then they gain respect for Jaxson Dart as he just gets pummeled by like the opposing team's pass rush.
I thought your next clip was going to be, and this was Cam Scattaboo's reaction, and it was just going to be like a rhinoceros, just like, yeah.
And can I also say that too? I know I said enough. If I think that you are a sort of like politically active sort of thinker, very engaged in the world, and you want to go to a political event, okay. Then again, that sort of makes sense to me. I don't have a lot of respect for Jaxson Dart's intelligence, and I think he's a walking advertisement for the dangers of CTE. So not only would me as a politician running for office not want Jaxson Dart speaking on my behalf, and the fact that he kind of messed up the introduction and said, "It is my honor and I've been pleasured to introduce the President of the United States," which was, like not
I mean, how do you know?
He probably had been pleasured.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not. So there was already that bit. It's just like, sit this one out, Jaxson. I don't think this is something that you're really, it doesn't surprise
it's always it's always, I think people forget about athletes is just how young they are. I mean, Jaxson Dart's 23, I'm pretty sure,
dumb.
like 20, like even if he's not dumb, at 23, you really haven't experienced much of life to really have full opinions on things. So I think it kind of shows your intelligence when you do certain things, like when you're so outspoken about something that you don't realize that you probably don't have a good perspective on life yet. Like his life to this date, his life so far has been went to high school, was treated probably very, very well, then went to college and was treated very, very, very well, and now has started his quote career or life or whatever. Like that is not a great perspective of the world and of like a normal life.
No, but hey, look, I don't think Jaxson Dart's going to evolve much over the course of his life. And it doesn't surprise me, again, that a kid, a Mormon from Utah with the name Jackson with an X and an S, and whose brother's named Diesel, and who then eventually was a starting quarterback at Ole Miss, is a Republican. Like, there's a lot of clues there that I think would mean that we could have bet on that pretty confidently. And that's not, again, there are plenty of young athletes and young quarterbacks. I could think of a few of them who, if they spoke at a political event, I would at least think to myself, do you know what? I think that's a guy who reads a lot, is pretty engaged, who thinks a lot
Nah, I
about
don't think
this.
so. I
You don't
think
think
at
there's
that age, you're still way too young. No, I don't think.
I
I
think
think
that's a reflection on you, but I think this is more you speaking about how you were than
but I also think this
how.
is as someone who's surrounded by 18 to 25-year-olds for the last 10 years. I'm constantly surrounded by people in that age group, and I can see how unexperienced they are in life for the most part.
Yeah, but a lack of experience doesn't mean that you can't have opinions on something or be politically engaged, right? Like, because otherwise we just end up being run by old people. And there's a certain advantage that comes to inexperience and naivety even at times when it comes to political and social issues, that it gives you a hope and an optimism and a desire for change that you won't get as you become older and more cynical maybe. So I'm
But I
not
think
going to.
having your first real job, do you know what I mean? Like I think there are a lot of milestones that
But I don't know, like,
give you the experience of
do I consider a quarterback being a real job? Like, do I think that Tom Brady at 40 knows that much? Like, this is the problem, is then I have to start doing some kind of litmus test on, like, how much real world experience have you had? And then it could be thrown back at me that there's gonna be plenty of people who at 22, 23 years old have lived through more in their life than I lived through at probably 30, or even maybe now, depending on what their backgrounds were, and people who may have come from upbringings where they were, you know, taking care of their brothers and sisters at an extremely young age. And, like, I'll throw Jameis Winston into that. When you hear him talk about his backstory, it is pretty remarkable. I still think he is an idiot personally, and like, but you listen to that, like, he lived more life by the age of 20 than I have lived now. So the perspectives that he will have on lots of things would be radically different and much more well-informed from a personal experience standpoint than what I have. So I'm not gonna say that there are certain people, and it's not about intelligence or how well-spoken you are. It's just, do I think you care? Do I think you're really engaged? Do I think you're following those topics? And maybe I'm totally off base with Jaxson Dart, but nothing about him or what he is, how he leads his life, or how he presents himself to the world normally indicates that he is someone who is really thinking about the state of the world on a consistent basis. And so then to me, that is bizarre to then kind of rock up at a political event. If you are someone who's thinking about that more and kind of made that a priority for you in your life, then do it. But I wouldn't, I wouldn't do it unless I really felt like I'm confident in the fact that this represents a significant part of who I am. Not just because I'm going to vote that way, but in terms of this really represents what I believe in. That that's all. And there are people who could do that at 22, and there are people who can't.
yeah. I would say the list who can is pretty low. And I
Eh,
think it's extremely low in the professional sports world.
for sure. For sure. But because again, it's not a real job. So you're not even being exposed to a lot of the challenges that people are during that sort of initial experience in a career. But yeah, it's But I also say this. Lots of people can classify different things as real jobs or not. A lot of people would look at what I do now and say, that's not a real job. I'm aware of
We don't
that
have to go on the
fact.
semantics of what a job is.
No, but you know what I mean? It's like there's lots of, there's someone who can feel like you can sit behind a desk and you're not really experiencing much in terms of the way the world really works versus being impacted by, real changes in policies and social structure by being out, kind of working with your hands, doing something like a farmer is more impacted by things. Is that more of a real job than mine? Probably.
Farmer.
I know. They get some flack from some people we know, but salt of the earth people. That's what I always say.
Anything else?
All right. Sports wise, I think I had. Oh, Roland Garros. We do have to discuss because obviously we're on course to have a new men's Grand Slam champion because
It's exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, Sinner
said it got
bowed
boring.
out. It did get boring. This isn't the way I wanted to get exciting because I didn't want to. I didn't want to get exciting because Sinner suffered from heat stroke, and because Djokovic blew a 2-set lead. And I think if I were a player in the latter stages, yes, you'd be excited that this is by far and away the best opportunity you may ever have in your career to win a Grand Slam. But I would also feel like you'd wanted to pass the test of maybe beating one of the big players on your way there. And so, like, if you're Zverev, you yes, desperately hoping you're like, he's the favorite now. This is his best chance. He should beat everyone who's left in the tournament. But if he wins it, will a lot of people kind of put an asterisk next to his name there of like Alcaraz wasn't in the tournament, Sinner effectively got injured, and Djokovic got knocked out by someone else. So you didn't pass any of the big tests. Will he care? No, probably not. But it must be at least, it's probably not the way you dreamt of winning it.
Any other Roland Garros?
Well, the only other thing that I thought was remarkable, because I saw this statistic, and it's a little bit over a week old now, but Novak Djokovic has made the third round of the French Open 21 years in a row.
Wait, what round? Say it again.
The third. So one in the first two rounds,
Okay.
sort of when you start to feel like the tournament is really starting to take shape. But
yeah,
it makes sense because you think about how old he is and how long he's been around for. But when you really put it in those terms of 21 years, I mean, there's a significant percentage of the men's players playing in Roland Garros this year who were not born the last time that Novak Djokovic wasn't in the third round of the tournament. Like, just to be fit and healthy enough to play 21 years in a row separates him from Federer and Nadal. And then when you get there, to make sure you didn't have some major upset or an injury in those first couple of rounds that stop you getting through to the third round. I mean, we talk all the time about records and what will or won't be broken. I think we can say I don't think that will ever be broken.
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I would say maybe Alcaraz.
Well, no, because he's starting from scratch now.
Yeah.
So the only way Alcaraz can break it, because Alcaraz is 23, so he'd have to go from now until when he's 44 without.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not even going to still be playing. But even if he were, he's not playing at the level to guarantee. And he's definitely getting injured again between now and then. And Sinner is probably at a good few years with that record, but he's not breaking it either.
Did you see? I thought maybe that would upset you a little bit, or just get you going a little bit in Naomi Osaka losing this round while wearing her gold sequence outfit.
So I don't mind the actual outfit, and both her and Sabalenka were wearing these special outfits. Sabalenka's is a bit more normal, I should say.
Normal.
The Sabalenka one made me laugh.
Normal maybe isn't the right way. People might interpret that wrong. I think it's less loud.
Sabalenka was wearing something that looked like if someone put that on, you would say you're going to play tennis. And what Osaka was wearing, I think if you put that on, I think someone would not be sure what you were going to do. And so I think that's the easiest. But what made me laugh about the Sabalenka one is it's this custom, like Nike made it specifically for her. None of the other Nike sponsored athletes, they weren't allowing any of them to wear it, but it does go on sale. And so another athlete just bought one and wore it in the first round because for the athletes who like aren't given free clothing, they can just buy their stuff and wear it. And that's exactly what she did. So that did take a little bit of the shine off the Sabalenka outfit. But Osaka, I don't mind so much what she's actually wearing. I do mind the fact that she does this huge fucking entrance wearing something else. Like, it kind of goes back to the conversation we had about the 15-minute protest about the 15% of revenue. Like, when is it just not enough? And if you're an athlete, when is it not enough just to kind of be an athlete? And again, this isn't me saying shut up and dribble, that you shouldn't have opinions on other things. You can't have hobbies, and I'm no knock on you if you want to have a podcast or a YouTube channel, and I don't know, like you love Warhammer and you want to make like a YouTube channel where you paint your little figurines. I'm not shitting on you for that. But the moment where you're like, I'm going to both be an athlete and a fashion icon, like it's so. To go from athlete to something more vapid as the thing you want to be more just bothers me so much. And then also at the same time of like, I'm going to be a fashion icon, but I also want you to take me seriously on serious issues. It's like you're doing, again, kind of Jaxson Dart territory of like, you're not doing anything to show me that I should take any of your thoughts on anything seriously. Like, when you're preparing for a big match and you're walking in this kind of weird, bizarre, almost ball gown to sort of take the stage, and you're having to like undress and you like remove the top half of it at first and then sort of go for the coin toss and then remove the bottom half afterwards to then be in your little gold shimmery dress. What about that says I should listen to this person on mental health issues? And like again,
oh man,
no,
here we go. This is like a quadruple fecta for you today. Arsenal, thanking God in sports, politics in sports, and Naomi Osaka's fashion career. We've hit all of it today.
And again, I like an athlete speaking about mental health issues is tremendously important because it's important to normalize mental health challenges, and athletes deal with a lot of mental pressure and again, different backgrounds and different things. And a lot of them suffer in silence, as do people in other walks of life. But I don't know. It's just like, and I'm doing a very poor job of expressing what I'm trying to say. And I'm aware of that fact. But if you're trying to become if you're trying to use your platform for one particular thing that's really important, then I think to a large extent you need to focus your platform on that. That you need to be someone who says, I'm an athlete, but I also care very passionately about this. And I think you undermine elements of that, whether you're Jaxson Dart or Naomi Osaka, who are two people who I'm sure have very radically different views on the world, but maybe are both making the same mistake of like, Jaxson Dart, I can be like party boy, fun boy, run my head through a brick wall, but also maybe listen to me about politics. And Naomi Osaka of like, I'm going to be a tennis player, but kind of also sort of not a tennis player, but also I really focus on fashion. But then also you're going to listen to me. It's like, I don't know. I didn't want to listen to Michael Jordan talk about politics because he only really focused on playing basketball and selling shoes. And that's what he told us he kind of cared about. And maybe gambling and golf, like that's as much world as Michael Jordan had time for. I'll give you I'll give you a great example of this, of someone who I politically and socially agree with 100%. Lewis Hamilton, who, like he and I probably agree on almost everything politically and socially. And I actually think for large parts of his career has been a great sort of social advocate on a number of issues. But then now he goes and dates a Kardashian. And I don't know how seriously I can I don't know how seriously I can take him in terms of being outspoken on social issues when you've told me what's important in your life includes dating a Kardashian. And look, I know we love who we love, and you can fall for someone you never thought you were going to fall for someone. But I think if you really cared
Opposites
as much
attract,
as
Eddie.
yeah. But I think if you really cared as much as Lewis Hamilton made it appear that he cared about some of those issues, that it would be very difficult for you to date Kim Kardashian. And that's, to me, that's a simpler representation of what I'm trying to say about both Jaxson Dart and Naomi Osaka, is that sometimes we have to like really think about the version of ourselves that we present to the world and how true it is or how much we want to curate it so that they take our thoughts on certain topics seriously. End scene.
Is it end scene or end scene? Classic
End
question.
scene in this.
I mean, the real question is, are there any more hot button topics we can throw in? Make this the ultimate Eddie rant episode.
I'm sure there are. Someone went on speakerphone on my train. That was pretty fucking annoying. But they were old, so I gave them a brief pass. Yeah. I'm sure there are other things. Oh, I got a question for you. We can move completely away from the world of sport.
Okay.
So, whilst I do love to complain to customer service lots of times, I don't actually like to do that in sort of like real world environments. I don't complain at a hotel or at a restaurant
You
or
don't
something. That's not.
You don't yell at someone in person. You like to do it anonymously from behind a screen.
But also to me, it's more like I deal with it where it's like a real customer service issue of like it's not my souper's cold. Let me send it back. That I don't care about enough. But it's like I feel like I don't know, it's difficult for me, but sort of hotels and restaurants are not things that I typically care about. However, today, and I'm at a conference, and at the moment that I needed to get ready to go to my conference, a little note got slipped underneath my door in my hotel room.
Ooh.
And it told me that the water was about to be out for 3 hours.
Wait, how much time did you have?
Realistically, I had an hour, but at the same time, I didn't need to be there exactly at the start. So
wait, say it again. What time was this note slipped under?
So an hour before I needed to be somewhere. So I was about to shower.
No, I know, but
ready.
what physical, what actual time did it slip in?
8:30 in the morning.
Oh, that's kind of, I don't like that. Because if you were going to say it slipped in at like 11, then it's like, if you're not up by 11, unless you have like a certain circumstance, maybe. But like, if they're slipping something in super early and you're at a hotel and you're on vacation, and you're like, I'm going to relax a little bit, and you don't get up till 9:30, 10, and by the time you wake up, you see this note and your water's gone, that kind of sucks.
But even if you're up, right, like you might be up and you might go to the gym. You might go, I'm in Nice, it's by the beach. You could be up and out, and like even if this has been 2 p.m, you could have gone to lunch, gone to the beach, come back from the beach, and then said like, "Oh, I need to get changed. I'm going to go do something." And it's like I can't take a shower. Like I've gone to the beach and I now can't shower. Like,
I can see it. Yeah, you're right.
I got to be honest. The only time that would be acceptable to me is like right in the middle of the night of a sort of, hey, the water was out from
2 to 4 a.m.
Yeah, like, and we're really sorry for the one person staying here who that inconvenienced, but but the question is, I think I gotta say something because it's annoying. So what? And I know that
say something. Did it really affect you?
Yeah, it delayed me. I had to wait until the water came back on because I couldn't not shower and go to this conference. So I had to wait. So it made me miss 2.5 hours of my conference, which
then you could say something.
Does that have like a huge impact? Did I miss some crucial meeting? No. But like
But you say
stay
you
in a
did.
Oh yeah. I lost a $10 billion deal.
Yeah.
Like, but
because now you can't pay for the hotel.
Unfortunately already paid for. But yes, had it not been paid for, that would have been a good opportunity. Like, card declined. It's because you've ruined my life. But yeah, the question is, I have to complain, and I'm going to presume that they just say, we're really sorry about that.
What do you think can happen? What's your expectation here?
There's three things that can happen.
Are you in a hotel chain?
I'm in a Hilton.
Of course you are.
You know what? Three things.
You know what? For all the Delta shit I get, Mr. Hilton boy over here. Oh, still stick with Hilton after they shut your fucking water off? Some great hotel Hilton is. Still stick with them, I bet. I bet we're still going to stay at a Hilton at Royal Ascot.
Yeah, it's already been booked.
Yeah.
Here's the differences. But this is for me. The benefits I get out of the reward program from Hilton, I value more than the benefits I can get out of the reward program for an airline. And I know that there's going to be, it's a little bit like the Arsenal PSG debate of best team, whatever. I know that there's lots of people for whom the opposite is true, but like, I don't care about an upgrade that much on a flight. Like, it doesn't really matter too much to me whether I sit in economy business first most of the time on a tremendously long flight.
But you prefer going from one bed to two beds in an upgrade.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about that either. But I do like the occasional hotel room upgrade. The one I got today, meaningless. I do like.
This is great.
I do like late checkout. That actually is more useful than.
Yeah, that's a good upgrade.
I use late checkouts a lot.
Yeah,
and that's about it. I mean, the point. And the points, I mean, I use the points for free hotel room stays, but it takes a lot of points to get a stay. So it's like kind of, I don't know. I'm basically saying I prefer late checkout over flight upgrade. Oh, I get free breakfast.
Nice.
Yeah.
But I guess, so getting back to the question then, what do you, I guess if it's Hilton, you could expect that they'll give you points. That's the most
they'll give me a token gesture
20,000 points.
Not even. I think they go like 5,000 points, which you got to say yes to. I can't be like, that's not enough points, but you know, like a good hotel room is 80,000 points, like minimum for like a decent hotel.
Yeah.
So 5,000 points. It's like, thanks very much.
If they say 5,000, you say like 5,000. Seriously, I'd rather you fucking take 5,000 away than give me 5,000, and then see if they take it away.
We already know that you had your bluff called once in a recent negotiation with an airline. Listeners of the podcast will be aware of that story. So I don't want to find myself in this. I don't want to find myself in a situation where they then say, "We'll take them away," then, and I have to stick to that.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe they take the only thing that I would actually want is they take something off. I actually don't care if they take anything off the bill because my company paid for it. So what do I care if money comes back? But like, that's the only thing that I could see them maybe doing is like, do you know what? We won't charge you for that day because we messed that up. We kind of ruined your night stay. We'll take one night off the bill. We'll refund you for a night. But then I'll have to be like, can you refund me to a different card? Because that's a company card and I don't care if the refund goes.
How about just points instead? Refund me the night in points.
Can you give me cash right now? Hard cash.
Give me $50.
Okay, 20.
Open the till.
If you give me 10 euros out of your pocket, I'll walk away happy.
Do they have like a little bar with a beer? Like, if you just give me a beer, I'll be fine.
Hey, there's a hotel bar.
Just really quickly, I guess, because we're kind of running a little long. I did some traveling, so I did watch some movies. I watched Predator: Badlands On the Way Out, which is a new Predator movie with Elle Fanning. It was okay. It was a little weird because it was I don't want to say children, but it was a lot more leaning towards the PG side than a Predator movie usually is. Like it had some I don't know, cute elements to it where there was a baby alien that was he was caring for and things like that you wouldn't normally see in an alien movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger's trying to rip the head off an alien. So that was a little strange, but it was a decent movie. It was watchable. I thought it was pretty good. And then on the way back, based off of someone's recommendation, I watched the new Anaconda movie.
Thoughts?
The best part of that movie is the Ice Cube cameo. And that made me think of this episode of Conan where Ice Cube is in the back of a car with Conan.
Oh my God. But you see what I'm saying?
It was it was a completely just watchable. I was even able to kind of do things on my phone on the background and still have complete focus of watching it and getting the jokes and not really missing anything. It was a very easy to watch movie. It had some funny parts to it. Wasn't that funny overall, but it did the job of a plane movie.
Yes.
And the Ice Cube part was actually genuinely really funny. I honestly thought that was the best part of the movie when he shows up out of nowhere.
It was spoilers, but it was what it set out to be. It delivered on, I think, the promise of kind of what the movie is. I thought it was fine. It's not shouldn't be winning awards, but I would put it in a good plane movie tier. Anything else?
Are you all caught up on Widow's Bay?
I don't think so.
Did you? It was a 2-episode drop.
Yeah, I think I'm one episode behind because I think I only watched one of the 2 episodes that came out.
Did you watch the history episode?
I did watch the history episode.
But did you watch the one after?
No.
Okay. Then we can wait to catch up on next episode to talk about that.
We can kind of discuss the history episode because all I'll say is I found the history episode tremendously boring.
Yeah, it wasn't as funny, obviously, as the other ones. I think they were intentionally going to make it a little scarier. So Ty West directed that one, who's done the X series, what's the I can't think of the movies. It's the trilogy with the woman who's the adult film star turned serial killer. Oh my God.
American History X?
Jenna Ortega. No. No. Jenna Ortega's in the first one.
Triple X with Vin Diesel?
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Whatever those are. But he's a pretty well-known horror director, so maybe they were trying to go a little scarier, but I don't love that idea. Just keep the theme consistent. There was 1 or 2 funny scenes as compared to most episodes. There's at least 10. There was only a very small handful of
it just felt like a completely different show.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And look, maybe it will deliver on some of that backstory, and maybe it already did in the subsequent episode, but
it does a little.
It didn't feel to me as if watching it, it didn't make me think, oh, well, this is going to really change my appreciation for what's going on in modern day. Maybe
it will a little. If you should, you probably should have watched them back to back, and then maybe it would have linked a little more. But I think you'll change your mind slightly when you see the next episode. But I still agree with you. I didn't love it.
Because I'm guessing the woman they knock into the waters, the sea hag or something, you know what I mean? The different stuff you can sort of, but yeah, I don't. It could have been done to me maybe with little flashbacks throughout this different episodes. Yeah. And I would have been much happier with here's just 5 minutes of this, here's 5 minutes of that. And I could have, but an entire episode, I have to admit, I found myself getting slightly bored during the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's always the tough part, right? Is like, do you show the flashback scenes in flashbacks or like one full episode? And I guess the other question is, do you do it so early on? Like most shows, when they have this like origin story episode, it's usually season 2 or 3, like once more has been established in the present day. This is like pretty
And
early on to have this.
I'll throw out a wild idea because, yeah, you're right. There's one option all at once. There's another option, kind of disperse them. There's
Or
another
not at
option
all.
of just don't do it at all.
Yeah.
And I just think if I'd been an editor or someone who'd been shown like an early cut of it, I would have gone, love the show. Just whatever that is, episode 7 or whatever, like kind of a drag.
Well, again, you have to see the next episode, though. It does tie in to the next one.
It's got to really tie in.
Kinda
We'll
does.
see. I'll give my feedback on the next episode on the next episode of this show, and I'll tell you whether or not it really tying in is one thing, but as if I
It ties
felt
in.
like
It wasn't completely necessary. I still don't think
like
it was.
I don't
completely
doubt that it
necessary.
will tie in, but will I go like, my God, this was the only way to set up what happened in this
I've ever heard you
episode?
say, "My God," so that would be a stretch. I don't think in the entire lifetime I've known you, I've seen you watch something and go, "My God."
Well, maybe this will be it.
I mean, we've seen a horse win by 20 plus lengths, and the best I got out of you was like, decent performance. Not sure the other horses were any good.
Well, maybe that was their tactic. That was maybe I'm going to like the next episode more because the last episode sucked. That's always an option.
All right. Well, with that, I guess we'll call it a day.
Sounds good.
All right. Talk to you later.
See ya.
Cheerio.